Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Fashion Let's Talk podcast. I am your host, Sharonda. I am the fashion forecaster. I break down the vibes of fashion industry, New York Fashion Week, Paris, what is going on, front house, back house, side house, everything. I give you the all, I give you the real, so stay tuned. Okay, everyone. So this New York Fashion Week, Spring Summer 26, is activated. Yes, everybody was out. The vibe is right. The energy is amazing for some places. But New York Fashion Week is activated again. It is officially back on track, and I am loving all that I am seeing, all the high-end American fashion designers showcasing their collection here in New York at New York Fashion Week, all of the amazing brands that went into collaboration supporting the New York American fashion designers at New York Fashion Week. When I say everybody and their mother was out and feeling fabulous and looking fabulous, the vibe was really, really giving. And that I am so happy for it, so excited about, because that was the whole point and mission of me creating this New York Fashion Week activation American fashion brands. I've seen, if all of you know, if you're in the fashion industry, but even if you're not, the vibes is just not right. But especially in the last 2 years for New York Fashion Week, it's just been on a declining, state. No one was coming out to the fashion shows. No one wanted to support the designers, buy the clothes. No, consumers weren't trusting the designers, feeling like, are these garments even official? There was no connection between the designers and the consumers. Everything was just money, money, money. And it just went to a halt. Like, no one was coming out supporting. They didn't, celebrities did not feel like the press was even worth coming out for. It was bad. And I was giving everyone heads up about this, I would say about 3 years ago. I know I was getting on your nerve, like something is different, y'all. Something is different. The CFDA calendars start getting thinner, shorter. And then Paris Fashion Week calendars start getting bigger and longer. And then I start to observe that it was American fashion designers that were being added on the Paris Fashion Week calendars. So it was like, and then when Ralph Lauren went to the Hamptons, it was like, okay, now stop. But, we was able to come together, gather, and say, what is this and how do we fix this? And some of the ways that, a lot of people came up with is, maybe some dropping down some prices, because a lot of high-end brands have been exposed for not being really authentic, genuine, high-end quality products. So, and then the press, the celebrities not coming out and they're not supporting the brands, why would the press and the media come out and support the shows? And if you're not really allowing the proper people who's going to bring some type of press into the shows because you feel that this saturated influencer market is more better, then, the press allowed the influencers to do. And then when the influencers weren't producing sales because some people wasn't tapped into every influencer's market, it just became a shit show. And it was like, well, where are we going with this? So we came up with this plan of activating New York Fashion Week by bringing out different brands to collaborate with the designers. And a lot of amazing brands, boutique owners, stores, like, they just said, I want in. And that, my dear, was just and is so beautiful to witness and just live. It's like, this is beautiful when you see the different parties and the after parties and the cocktails events and collaborations. Those were what was keeping the city live and energized. And speaking of energized, I want to give a big shout out to Naked Nutrition Energy Drink that sponsored some amazing Fashion Week events. They gave the energy and vibe to all of the models and makeup artists and hairstylists, all the amazing glam squads who helped produce and, electrify that industry. And kudos to Naked for being a proud sponsor for that. The energy was in the building because of Naked. So I want to give a shout out to them. But yeah, it was a beautiful thing. You felt good about being at New York Fashion Week. You felt excited about networking with all the celebrities that was going to be there. So a lot of celebrities jumped on board. A lot of brands jumped on board to activate their brands, to bring awareness. So, and you see it. You see it all through the city of New York. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone with their amazing energy and their positive vibes. And you see the beauty of all things happening in New York Fashion Week. So shout out to all of you guys. Some of the amazing designers that was out there, creating amazing vibe for the celebrities that came to their show. One of them was Christian Siriano. Amazing designer, amazing, fun, exciting energy, collection, and personality, which is so important. And you can see that it trickles down to his production and the PR companies that he worked with. Like, it was just a beautiful vibe to witness. He had Oprah, Gail, Lizzo, Whoopi Goldberg. Everybody was at his show, and everybody felt good being at his show. They was excited. They was excited to see the collection. They was excited to network, take pictures with everybody. They didn't feel like it was a job. And that's what New York Fashion Week is about compared to the other Paris Fashion Week. It's like old money and new money, but new money is more exciting. Old money is more like jewelry and stuff. And that's how Paris Fashion Week is, very jewelry. But New York Fashion Week is new money. Even with people with old money, they still get that New York City vibe. They go to the restaurant, get cocktails. They're out, get their drivers. They got their furs, they leather. Even if it's not that hot for, that cold for a fur, they know, by the end of the night, it's something to throw on and look fabulous with. And speaking of the fur, it is fur season, baby. We gonna talk about that. But it was a vibe at Christian Siriano fashion show. It was beautiful. Oprah was so excited to be there. And Oprah just went to Paris Fashion Week. And Oprah don't really go to fashion shows. Only Tommy Ralph Lauren shows. She's always at his shows, no matter what. She's a true supporter. But she was at Christian Siriano's show and having a fabulous time. Her, Gail, Lizzo, Usher taking advantage of being around beautiful, money-making women. It was a vibe, and I love seeing that. So that made me happy. Then they shifted off Gail and Oprah over to Ralph Lauren's show, which is always beautiful and pleasant and so New York Fashion Week. Ralph Lauren is one of those designers who create a consistent staple collection of beautiful, high-end American fashion. It is comfortable, it is classy, it can be worn in all styles of life, whether it's at, a ball or Met Gala or by the farm, in the Hamptons. Ralph Lauren is that American designer that you can never go wrong, investing in. And his show was pleasant, beautiful, great, positive, peaceful elegant energy, just strutting the room. Oprah always in smile. Usher feeling proud to be in the environment. Gail, being her amazing friend, bringing the spunk and the fabulousness, and it was beautiful. But it's also, I don't know, I'm just going to be real with you guys. It also, makes me a little sad when I see, Ralph Lauren with his beautiful, gorgeous, supportive, and, elegant wife, saying bye, as he's getting older. I think he's 82, I'm not sure. But as he's getting older, it's a little struggle for him to come down the runway and do, what he's always been doing for many years, the fashion icon. But he stood on the steps so gracefully, and his wife walked up to him, gave him a beautiful kiss on the cheek, and as he waved, and it was just beautiful. But you definitely can't help but to think of how it is getting closer to the time for him. Maybe not next season, have to come out. He could just sit at the front, in the front row because he is that icon. But he definitely, just seeing him there and waving made me think of, Giorgio Armani and the Armani Exchange brand, and him passing away a few weeks ago, and it just made me really want to say, wow, these are some amazing American fashion designers who have paved the way for up and coming American fashion designers and really showcase how it really should be done. Living a legacy and keeping the legacy consistent, not needing to fall victim to all of the hoopla that the fashion industry brings, and the negativity and the ups and downs and the denial, the gatekeeping of it all. These brands, these two iconic men, have weathered the storm and, kept their legacy beautifully going. And it was a beautiful and sad moment for me as I witnessed that. But I was happy to see it, but definitely thought of Armani and all that he have done for American fashion and New York Fashion Week, and them consistently staying here in New York at New York Fashion Week, showcasing their collection, never going off to Paris and, feeling like that's a better option. They stayed true to what they represent and what they believed in, and that is the American designer and American fashion. And that was activated beautifully. Another American designer who did shift his production and runway shows to Paris is Willie Chavez. I think that's his last name. Don't judge me. I'm sorry. I'll get it together. But Willie definitely migrated to Paris to showcase his collection for the last 2 seasons. And I'm not going to lie, he was one of the people I was very disappointed in seeing that happen, because he is an American designer and his atelier is located in Brooklyn at that. So the fact that he went to Paris, I was disappointed. I think a lot of people was disappointed. Still supportive of his collection. He, no matter where he lands, he always create a beautiful collection and stand 10 toes on his Latin culture, presenting it and representing it so beautifully, and, taking a stand on all of the ISIS that is going on, and how, they are targeting the Latin community. And he, boycotted that in his runway show in Paris, and, had a statement that he wanted to make, and he made it. But I always still had this thing of, why did you go to Paris? Stay true to New Yorkers or New York Fashion Week, because That is the heart of you. And sure enough, Willie came back to New York. He did it more intimate. It was very intimate, very beautiful. But listen, he is an amazing fashion designer. And like I said, no matter where he is, his collection and his personality always shine out beautifully. He has a very amazing spirit. You can see it. And I do love his collection. So I was happy and excited to see him back at New York Fashion Week. So, Willie, thank you, my love, for coming back to New York Fashion Week. And your runway show was beautiful, very intimate. It was like very classy, new money with a hint of old money, fashion week and fashion presentation, so elegant. And I love it. So shout out to him as well for his collection. Alexander Wang, very beautiful collection. He's bringing out the furs. Definitely had a lot of celebrities there. I think the cutest celebrity and flyest one who was rocking his collection was Cardi B, whose album is coming out on the 19th. And she was there with her precious baby, and they was like the Bopsy twins, mommy and daughter duo, where they came in there with Alexander Wang's fur dress and skirt. Cardi B wore the full brown mink stable fur, and the daughter had like the black bodysuit with the mink fur skirt. Baby, so New York Fashion Week. When I say the vibes was there, it was giving, the energy was electrifying. It was beautiful to witness, and I loved that. Everybody was out to get their brands, their album release, their collection, their products activated. And it was. And I was happy to see that, as you can hear. So these are the good things that I was experiencing and witnessing and seeing, play out all through New York Fashion Week and through the internet. It was like vibing. So Alexander Wang bringing out the furs, beautiful. And speaking of furs, I also attended Daniel's Leather Furs. That was produced by the Alexandra Evans PR company and productions. When I say they produce a beautiful runway show for Daniel's Leathers, they've been doing it for 4 years now, and the vibe is always so peaceful when I go to their show. First of all, Alexandra, you are such a beautiful spirit. Your family is so beautiful to witness at work between your sons, your husband. It is just a beautiful American fashion brand company. And to see Daniel's Leather Furs showcase that what America is really all about. He had multicultural, a very diverse runway show showcasing beautiful furs that he collaborated with another designer. So it was art. It was New York on a beautiful level that it just had this, I don't want to say 90s vibe, but it had that vibe of what New York Fashion Week was all about before it was even at the Bryant Park. New York is a vibe. It's a vibe of fashion, style, music, culture. And that's what I felt in Daniel's Leather runway show. Even the iconic hip hop artist AZ was in the building. Just looking so scrumptious in his look, but enjoying the furs that was coming down the runway. He even seen and caught how excited I was. And he was like, "You like that?" I was like, "Hell yeah." But it was such a beautiful vibe and experience. And I was there with my gorgeous daughter, Shania, such a supportive system to me. I love her. But it was a great experience. And I loved every minute of it. The furs that was there was amazing. Danny's fur, like, he is just one of those who caters to the New York, the celebrities, and really want to make sure the culture, the style of New York, stays the same. That fly, fabulous, ghetto fabulous, luxury fabulous, high-end fabulous, culture, staple furs and leathers. And I just love his energy. He's so peaceful, so loving, and most importantly, so supportive to many diverse cultures. That's Daniel Leather's fur. He has morals behind his brand, and I like that. So, and then the people that he hired to produce his runway show also have this family supportive morals that you can feel good when you come in their presence. You feel good with the vibe and the production and the show and the designer and the models. It's just a feel good vibe. And that is something that I really, really want to stress. That is so important when it comes to New York Fashion Week. And what played a role in, the declining of New York Fashion Week, and why we need to detox certain energies that play a role in New York Fashion Week being on this declining state. It was such a beautiful thing to witness. Also, because I really want to talk about how amazing New York Fashion Week. It was such a beautiful thing to witness, because we're going to get into the bad and the extremely ugly part and experience moments that happen at Fashion Week. But I just love some of the amazing things that was going on. Also, EE72, which is a magazine publication consulting company that launched their amazing magazine, part of their consulting company, in and at New York Fashion Week. Edwin, this was such a great thing to do, and we New Yorkers truly, truly appreciate you even thinking to do that, jumping on the activation opportunity in New York. You are amazing, and shout out to your brand, EE72, because you launched your amazing publication, and the after parties and the brand that you had activated at this was just chef kiss. You did it, and congratulations to you. If you don't know, EE72 is owned and operated by one of the old Vogue, from American Vogue, ID, UK Vogue. He used to be the editor-in-chief of those, and walked away and said, I'm going to create my own. I'm going to do my own. I invested too many years in other people's brands and limited myself from doing all that is possible. And you've got to give respect to someone with that type of mindset. Own your own craft. Own your own gifts. And that's what he did when he created EE72. He applied all of his knowledge, experience throughout the years, from working with these amazing high-end publications. But he reached a point in life where he wanted to apply that for something that he fully owned. And he launched the publication at New York Fashion Week. How amazing. The vibes was everything in the building. The smiles, the celebrities was dancing. On the cover is Julia Robertson, and she's being interviewed by George Clooney. How fabulous is this? New York was doing it and launching and activating and popping off so much amazing brands and collections and opportunities. So, it was beautiful. And I'm proud of everybody who got the memo and got the vibe and, just shared that energy out to New York. And thank you. You all rock. Now we're going to go into the bad and the ugly. because there was some ugly stuff that happened. And honestly, I was going back and forth debating on if I should talk about it. But I said, you know what? This needs to be talked about because energy like this, mindsets like this is what plays a huge role in New York Fashion Week having its declining moments and the media not wanting to support certain celebrities or brands not wanting to be activated at certain shows or with certain designers, and most importantly, really bad people who work for bad companies and PR agencies and management companies. Bad management and gatekeeping and creating unnecessary bid wars is just something that needs to be detoxed. It needs to be removed out of the fashion industry. And we're going to talk about that. So I personally had experienced something crazy. And it was weird to experience because when you look at the whole big picture, it was so unnecessary. But then when you do a deep dive, you say, oh, okay, now I see how it got to this point because of bad apples, bad energy, bad management, and people just being more of a fan of a friend than a business person. That's what it was all about, and that's what it boiled down to. I had to learn a huge lesson that when you see different signs of people where they really have nothing to offer or to produce, and then everything that they bring to the table falls, they drop the ball and never follows through or is an extreme successful situation because it's that person's energy. And rather you know the whole story or not, the red flag shows. So these is the bad and the ugly story. So just to break down, everyone knows, just like I said, I was so disappointed in the decline of New York Fashion Week, but was very excited to bring something to the table to activate New York Fashion Week. I'm not the type to just complain about stuff. I try to create solutions, positive ones. So I said, you know, if something needs to be done to really spark New York Fashion Week back up. And I thought about this about 2 years ago. I had a client who worked at a location and I presented to them, listen, you are here, New York Fashion Week is on a decline, mainly because they don't have a location or a space. Maybe you should think about trying to create this being the platform, consistent location, staple location for New York Fashion Week. That is one of the problems because there's no platform. There's no staple platform for the designers to showcase their collection. So working with this client 2 years, we're doing different events and stuff. I'm in the fashion industry and I'm realizing, okay, we do an event. They get the event for free because they work there. And they do an event because they want to show that they can produce events. They've done events in the past at other locations. And they want to produce events with one of their friends who is a celebrity. The company they work for allowed it to happen, and they even invested in the company for it to be done. I was hired as a publicist to do that event because this particular client who worked at the company said she has been an event planner. She has this best friend and celebrity, but no one is giving her the knowledge or the respect for what she contribute to her celebrity friends, to the industry. No one acknowledged it. She just feels like everybody downplays it. She just looked as this friend. So I'm like, okay, well, tell me what you've done. She goes on things that she's done. I'm like, okay, well, we could work at that, highlighting some of those features of things that you contribute. We did the event. It was a success. It was a success because I made sure that everybody in that room was